is clearly illegal. Remember the former head of the EPA? She had to step down. She had to step down a few years ago. What was her name, CJ?
Her name is Lisa Jackson.
That's right, Lisa Jackson Lee or whatever it was. Thank you. We're teleprompter free, but sometimes when I have a brain flatulence, as they're scientifically called, the guys come to my aid with the information I need. So she had to step down because that was illegal. Does this ruin Hillary's chances to run? I hope so. Can Jeb Bush just sit down and shut up? And can Hillary Clinton just sit down and shut up? We've had enough Jeb Bushes and Hillary Clintons. I've got an article here today showing how Goldman Sachs is pumping money at record levels into both of these establishment people. And let's go back to that article the crew just found and put on screen. There's a blast from the past, 2013, 2 years ago. Newly released emails show EPA directors extensive use of fictional alter ego, fake email. And no one's really doing that tie-in that I've seen. We should have one of our great writers, whether it's Steve Watson, Paul Watson, Adon Salazar, Kit Daniels, Kurt Demo, Mikhail Thalen, or someone else, do an article saying, will Hillary be punished like the EPA had for fake emails? Because it is illegal on so many fronts. There are a lot of developments unfolding, ladies and gentlemen, that we'll also be breaking down as the next few hours progresses. But today, at least for the balance of this hour, ahead of several guests joining us, we can talk about the Jewish obsession. I don't have one. I mean, I've got friends that are Jews. I respect Jewish culture. I respect culture across the board. I don't hate people. I don't hate black people. I don't hate Hispanics. I don't hate white people. If I'm in the deep South and somebody makes a smart mouth comment about what are you doing around here, Yankee, I don't bow up to folks. I understand that's all they've got, and that 99% of people in the South are not like that. And then I know that in the South, in some towns, they call people in the town next to them Yankees. It just means outsider. But then I don't put movies out and make fun of everybody in the South like Hollywood does. I understand how cultures work, and I want to empower humanity. And the globalists are using balkanization to do the opposite of that. I don't want to destroy Israel. I want to reform Israel. I don't want to destroy the police departments. I want to reform the police departments. I don't want a revolution. I want a restoration of Americana freedom-based values. Lord Monckton is joining us from Science and Public Policy to break down the latest carbon tax push and more, and to give his take on other geopolitical affairs. And then Joel Gilbert, because we've had members of Congress and others come out and basically say that Obama is heavily connected, wink, wink, to a famous communist pornographer, wink, wink, who he admittedly lived with for a long time, wink, wink, and who is pretty much a dead ringer for his father, and was, quote, best friends with his grandfather. So we're going to have Joel Gilbert on just to discuss Obama in general and to get his take on what's currently unfolding and more. But I do want to go to your phone calls on the subject of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, because I don't see this as Israel good, everybody else bad, or Israel bad, everybody else good. I see this as what's really going on geopolitically right now. And what does all this stand for? Well, if Israel's really getting ready to hit Iran, Iran is probably going to respond with asymmetrical warfare. They'll call it terrorism in the news. That will then be used to take my freedoms. It will hurt the economy, and it could cause a nuclear war. But then I also get Israel's perspective when Iran constantly shoots their mouths off. There's always apologists out there saying, oh, they didn't really say that. No, Iran, the government of Iran, really does say stuff like, we're going to nuke you, we're going to blow you up, we're going to push you into the sea, the Zionist regime. Well, the Zionist regime is the millions of Jews that live there. And so here's the issue for all the anti-Semites and all the people that think if they slip on a banana peel, a Jew did it. Do you understand Israel probably has around 800 nuclear weapons, the most high-tech type They've got German submarines to launch the cruise missiles. They've got medium-range ballistic missiles. They've got tactical weapons, and they've got spies all over the place in the Middle East and in Europe and you name it. I mean, it's like a Mexican standoff. Everybody's pointing guns at each other. Let's just not pull the trigger. Let's all just sit down and order some food and kick back and order a glass of wine and not kill each other like Ron Paul says. So he's demonized. And you got a lot of factions, the military-industrial complex want more war. You got a lot of crazies in the Middle East want more war. You got Israel involved with the West, all guilty, like our military said 2 years ago, of arming al-Qaeda to attack Syria. A war crime, killing Christians. I'm very angry with Israel. I'm very angry with our own government. I'm very angry with Turkey. But see, I'm not especially angry with Israel because I'm not a mindless hater. I hate the criminals that globally came up with the decisions at the Bilderberg Group, Club of Rome, globalist level, and then everybody from Saudi Arabia to Israel to Turkey to France to the United States got in line to engage in war crimes all over the Middle East using proxy armies out of Saudi Arabia. Shame on Israel. Shame on Benjamin Netanyahu. And shame on everybody out there that purely worships him as a messianic leader and thinks, whatever, Alex, you better get behind Israel. I'm not against Israel. But doing things like this, funding al-Qaeda in the Middle East, is evil. And then sitting around saying we've got to attack Iran. They're funding al-Qaeda because al-Qaeda's enemies with Iran. People say, well, Alex, that's a Machiavellian move. That's how you win. No, that's how you lose the moral high ground. But I'll say this, shame on the U.S. government. Shame on France. Shame on NATO. Oh, no, 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 don't do that. Only see, there he is covering up for Israel. That's the mental illness of just, you know what, the anti-Semites worship Jews. I think that's what it comes down to, is that I don't dislike the NFL, but I'm sick of that's all you hear about for 4 or 5 months out of the year. And most men don't have a life. They just obsess on the NFL all day and play fantasy football. It's mentally ill. And the same thing, I don't hate Israel, but man, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of all the people on both sides, all vitriolically, you know, feeling like they're on the right side when it's all a big manipulation. That's what it comes down to. And you got Saudi Arabia financing anti-free speech initiatives in the U.S. You got Israel financing anti-free speech initiatives. You got George Soros doing it. You got left-wing, right-wing. You got every special interest group out there trying to shut down free speech and trying to take our guns so America, the big empire, can be their toy to go out and be a bully and take over the world for whoever, fill in the blank. And here's the deal. I'm sick of paying for it, like Rand Paul says. I don't want to give aid to China. We give billions to them. I don't want to give aid to Israel. I don't want to give aid to Egypt. I don't want to give aid to anybody, not Mexico, no one. I'm sick of it. I don't want to pay for Chinese and Mexican and German women to come here and have their babies paid for and be put on welfare and see it advertised on CNN how great it is to do it. Yeah, I don't like illegals getting free in-state tuition and free scholarships, and then I got to pay for it. Yeah, you're right, not because I hate Latin Americans. If I came down there and got everything free from them, they'd really be upset with me. I'm sick of unfairness. I'm sick of garbage. And I'm sick of people who are ignorant. And the only reason the globalists can get away with this is because the public is ignorant. I'm going to go to your phone calls. Jim, Alan, John, Brian, Sleestack, and others coming up here in just a moment. But look at these type of clips. I want to play this clip. White House spokesman Josh Earnest says ammo ban proposal is common sense. There's another clip, a little jewel from him this morning. Obama won't watch Netanyahu's speech to Congress. And I'm not really gone over his speech yet because it's more of the same. It's a repeat of what he said to AIPAC. Days when Jewish people remain passive in the face of genocidal aggression are over. He says the talks going on paved the way to Iran to get the bomb. Iran's, from what I've been told, I mean, look, Pakistan's got it, got about 100. India's got a couple hundred. China's got a couple thousand. South Africa had nukes, for heaven's sakes, back in the 80s. Saudi Arabia it basically brags they've got nukes now, kind of like Israel does. We're not going to say we have nukes, but look out. I mean, do you really believe the Saudis don't have nukes? They bragged last year they had them, and I told you years before they did, because I have high-level sources. High level, everybody knows it. So from people I trust in special operations and other areas, that they've seen the scans. They've seen the scans from satellite that picks up the trace imminences, the trace radiation of fissile material configured that matches the signature of basically atomic bombs. The difference is what Iran has is tinker toys compared to what Israel has. And do you really think the mullahs that were doing backroom deals with Ronald Reagan to hold the hostages till they did arms transfers in Iran-Contra? I mean, the mullahs were put in by the CIA in '79, and this has all been declassified, in a double cross of the Shah, who wasn't playing ball with the globalists, and they gave him a weak, version of